Ten-Tail's origin. Long before shinobi, long before the first hidden villages, there was only chaos. Endless war covered the land. In that dark era, a mysterious tree appeared, massive, ancient, and powerful beyond imagination. This was the God Tree, a divine-looking entity with a towering brown trunk and roots that stretched like veins across the earth. To ancient people, it was a miracle. They worshipped it as a god. But the truth was far more terrifying. The God Tree was not a gift. It was a tool, a parasitic seed planted by the Otsutsuki clan. Its purpose was simple: to drain all chakra from the planet and turn it into a single fruit. Once the fruit matured, it would be harvested and consumed to grant immense power. That was the cycle the Otsutsuki followed across worlds: plant, drain, consume, repeat. However, on Earth, something changed the pattern. Kaguya Otsutsuki, sent ahead as a scout, decided to eat the chakra fruit herself. This act broke all Otsutsuki protocol. With the fruit's power, she ended the wars between humans in an instant. But power like that always comes at a price. Over time, Kaguya grew obsessed with control. When she gave birth to two sons, Hagoromo and Hamura, and realized they had inherited chakra, she saw them not as her children, but as threats. She wanted that chakra back. To achieve this, she merged herself with the God Tree. This unholy fusion gave birth to a new being, the Ten Tails. It was no longer a tree and no longer a goddess. It had become a colossal beast with gray-brown skin, spiked protrusions all over its body, and a single Ran Sharingan on its forehead. It was terrifying to look at, and even worse to face. The Ten Tails reshaped the battlefield. Oceans boiled under its chakra. Mountains crumbled like sand. With each step, it left craters behind. This was the first time the world saw chakra not as life, but as destruction. Kaguya had created the ultimate weapon, but her sons refused to surrender. Hagoromo and Hamura stood against their mother, now transformed into a monster. Their battle lasted for months, not days, not weeks, actual months. It was a clash of ideologies: freedom versus control, balance versus domination. Eventually, the brothers found a way to end it. Using six paths techniques, they sealed the Ten Tails inside the moon, separating its chakra from its body. Hagoromo became the first ever Jinchuriki, the living prison for the beast. That moment was a turning point in history. It was the origin of everything, the beginning of chakra as we know it, the start of shinobi legends, and the foundation for every war that would come after. If you're a true Naruto or Boruto fan, this one's for you. Drop a comment below of which Ten Tails form is your most feared, and tell us why you think that. And don't keep the hype to yourself. Share this video with your fellow shinobi and join the debate. Hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the world of Naruto, Boruto, and the terrifying power of the Ten Tails. Smash the bell icon so you never miss an upload, because things are only getting crazier from here. Let's keep the shinobi spirit alive. Next, Ten Tails splitted. After sealing the Ten Tails inside himself, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the Sage of Six Paths, carried a burden no one else could imagine. He was the first Jinchuriki, and within him slept the most dangerous entity in existence. But power, no matter how tightly sealed, is never truly safe. Hagoromo knew one truth: he would not live forever. When he died, the Ten Tails would be freed, and the world would face destruction all over again. The seal wouldn't last beyond his lifetime, so he had to make a choice, a permanent one. He couldn't hide the beast, he had to break it. Using his creation of all things technique, Hagoromo did the unthinkable. He split the chakra of the Ten Tails into 9 separate entities. These weren't chunks of energy, they became living beings, each with its own form, mind, and will. Thus, the tailed beasts were born. Each one carried a fraction of the Ten Tails' original chakra. Shukaku, the one tail; Madatabi, the 2 tails; Isobu, the 3 tails; Son Goku, the 4 tails; Kokuo, the 5 tails; Seiken, the 6 tails; Chome, the 7 tails; Yuki, the 8 tails; Kurama, the 9 tails. Their names, shapes, and personalities were all unique. The number of tails reflected their chakra volume, but not their raw power. Was often seen as the strongest, but that didn't mean Shukaku was weak. Each had its own nature and combat style. Still, none of them were complete. No single tailed beast held the full force of the Ten Tails. Even combined, they couldn't recreate its original power. Some chakra was lost during the split. Some was held back by Hagoromo himself. These 9 were fragments. Powerful, yes, but not whole. And yet, they were alive. Despite being born from division, each tailed beast developed a sense of identity. Shukaku was stubborn, Matatabi was graceful. Gyuki had wisdom. Kurama carried deep resentment. They were no longer tools. They became characters with thoughts, choices, and even friendships. This evolution mattered, because when chakra has a will, it cannot be easily controlled. By splitting the ten tails, Hagoromo didn't scatter its power. He redefined it. What was once a weapon of mass destruction became 9 souls, 9 spirits that would later shape the shinobi world. They were hunted, sealed, and used, but they also formed bonds, rebelled, and eventually helped save the world they were once meant to destroy. Demonic statue. When Hagoromo separated the Ten Tails chakra to create the Nine-Tailed Beast, something remained, the body. Stripped of its soul, the husk of the Ten Tails didn't vanish. Instead, it took on a new form. That lifeless shell became the demonic statue of the Outer Path, a chilling reminder that the Ten Tails could never truly be erased. The statue was massive, gaunt and skeletal. It had gray, decayed skin stretched over an empty frame. Spines jutted from its back, and a single cloudy eye stared blankly from its forehead. It was sealed within the moon, far from human reach. But even without chakra, its presence was heavy, like a forgotten god waiting to wake up. For centuries, the statue remained untouched. But in the shadows of history, a plan was forming. Generations later, Madara Uchiha, with the power of the Rinnegan, did the unthinkable. He summoned the statue back to Earth, no longer a husk left to rot. The demonic statue became the centerpiece of a new plan, the resurrection of the Ten Tails. This marked the true turning point. With the statue back in the world, the line between myth and reality collapsed. Madara used the statue as a vessel. His goal was clear. Gather the chakra of all 9-tailed beasts and reunite them inside the statue. Piece by piece, he would rebuild the Ten Tails. The demonic statue was the shell. All it needed was chakra to wake up. Even in its hollow state, the statue wasn't powerless. It could absorb chakra from living beings, draining shinobi of their energy and life. It could launch proto-tailed beast bombs, destructive blasts that hinted at the Ten Tails' original strength. But it was unstable, not complete, not whole. A beast without a mind, a weapon without a will. Still, it was dangerous. With each tailed beast sealed inside it, the statue grew stronger. Chakra flowed into its body like blood into old veins. And with Obito Uchiha taking Madara's plan even further, the statue became the heart of the Eye of the Moon plan, the key to infinite Tsukuyomi. The incomplete forms. Thousands of years passed after Hagoromo split the Ten Tails. The world changed. Shinobi villages rose and fell, but in the shadows, the nightmare was being reborn. During the Fourth Great Ninja War, Madara and Obito Uchiha set their plan in motion. Their goal, to revive the Ten Tails and use it to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi. To do that, they needed all 9-tailed beasts. They gathered almost everything, but not quite. They managed to collect the chakra of the 8 tails, Gyuki, and the 9 tails. Kurama, but only partially. Bee and Naruto were still alive. Their Biju were still inside them. So when the Ten Tails was revived, it didn't return at full power. Instead, it came back in an unstable, incomplete form. This led to the emergence of 2 imperfect stages, each more terrifying than the last. First, incomplete form. When the chakra sealed inside the demonic statue of the Outer Path was activated, the statue twisted and mutated. What emerged from it was a deformed monstrosity, gaunt, unbalanced, and alien. It had a single eye, jagged limbs, and a body that looked like it hadn't finished growing. It moved like it didn't fully belong in the world. This version of the Ten Tails wasn't elegant. It wasn't even stable, but it didn't need grace to be dangerous. Despite its incomplete state, the Ten Tails had immense destructive power. With almost no effort, it could swat away the tailed beast bombs launched by multiple Jinchuriki at once. Its raw force overwhelmed even the strongest defenses. The problem wasn't strength. It was control. The beast acted on instinct. It rampaged without precision, a storm without a center. Second, in complete form. As the fight raged on, the Ten Tails absorbed more chakra. It mutated again, shifting into a more solid humanoid shape. Its limbs grew longer, more muscular. Massive arms sprouted. Its face opened into a wide, monstrous mouth, and its presence on the battlefield became even more terrifying. Now, it had some sense of control. In this form, the Ten Tails could launch massive tailed beast bombs that outmatched anything seen before. Its attacks became faster, its range wider. It used its limbs like weapons, stretching them across huge distances to smash entire squads at once. The Allied shinobi forces, tens of thousands strong, were pushed back again and again. But even here, the beast was still not complete. It lacked the full chakra of Kurama and Gyuki. Its power was enormous, but it hadn't reached the godlike potential of its original form. This was a beast in transition, climbing its way back to the top of the food chain, step by bloody step. Miniature clones. It was a tactical nightmare. While its massive form could crush entire battlefields, it also possessed a more subtle and equally terrifying ability: the power to create miniature clones. These weren't simple shadow copies or harmless distractions. The Ten Tails could split portions of its chakra to spawn entire squadrons of living weapons, each one carrying a fraction of its rage and destructive potential. They came in many shapes. Some stood several meters tall, others towered like buildings. Some looked vaguely human, with jagged armor-like skin, sharp claws, and glowing red eyes. Others resembled monstrous animals, twisted versions of the tailed beasts themselves, as if fragments of their essence had leaked into the clones. Some had tails, some had horns. All of them moved with terrifying speed. Despite being smaller than the original Ten Tails, these creatures were still incredibly dangerous. They attacked with ferocious physical power, tearing through shinobi ranks with claws, bites, and crushing blows. Some were fast enough to match elite jonin. Others could fire miniature tailed beast bombs, scaled down but still lethal, exploding through entire formations. The purpose of these clones wasn't destruction, it was disruption. They served as a first wave, rushing ahead of the Ten Tails to break the enemy's formation. While the Shinobi Alliance tried to hold the front lines, these clones came in from the sides, from above, from beneath, attacking in groups, forcing the shinobi to scatter and split their forces. In the chaos, the true body of the Ten Tails could prepare a full-power assault or defend itself from counterattacks. These clones were also shields. They swarmed any shinobi who got too close to the real Ten Tails, intercepting jutsu, blocking movements, and buying time for larger attacks to charge. They made it nearly impossible to land a clean hit on the beast. For every one you cut down, 3 more came running. One of the most brutal examples of this strategy came during the Fourth Great Ninja War. When the Ten Tails began to charge a full-scale tailed beast bomb, it unleashed dozens of clones across the battlefield. The clones overran the front lines, targeting medical ninja, sensory units, and sealing teams, anyone who posed a threat. It wasn't just a physical attack, it was psychological warfare. You could defeat 1, maybe 2, but they never stopped coming. Ten Tails' mature form. The war didn't slow down, it escalated, as the Ten Tails continued absorbing chakra and sensing the presence of the tailed beasts inside Naruto. Something inside it clicked. The evolution wasn't over. The beast hadn't finished growing, and when it did, the battlefield changed forever. The Ten Tails transformed again, this time into its matured form, the closest it had come to its original state, the one that had once clashed with Hagoromo and Hamura at the dawn of shinobi history. Its body grew massive, almost tree-like in design, echoing its connection to the god tree. 10 enormous tails flailed behind it like whips of pure destruction. Its skin took on an eerie texture, and on its head glowed a Raina Sharingan, pulsing with power. It no longer looked like a beast. It looked like a force of nature, and that's exactly what it became. The mature Ten Tails possessed the ability to use Tenpenchi, a devastating technique that unleashed continent-sized disasters. Earthquakes tore the land apart. Storms and hurricanes howled across the sky. Tornadoes twisted entire forests into dust. Wherever it looked, nature bent to its will. Its tailed beast bombs also changed. They were large, they were refined, faster, more compact, but with enough power to level entire regions in a single blast. One sphere could erase a battlefield. Two could wipe out a country. Its attacks were no longer wild. They were calculated, precise, and horrifyingly efficient. But even in this form, the Ten Tails wasn't truly whole, because Kurama and Gyuki, the Nine Tails and Eight Tails, still hadn't been fully absorbed. Their chakra lingered inside Naruto and Killer Bee, just out of reach. This meant the Ten Tails, despite its terrifying evolution, remained incomplete in a deeper sense. It wasn't the absolute monster that once terrorized the world in ancient times. Still, that didn't matter to the shinobi on the ground. To them, this version of the Ten Tails was already unstoppable. No army could match its power. No jutsu could contain it. It towered above the battlefield like a god reborn, emotionless, merciless, and relentless. The only thing worse than its strength was the knowledge that it wasn't even at full power. This was the strongest form the Ten Tails reached during the Fourth Great Ninja War. And even in this almost state, it was strong enough to push the entire allied shinobi forces to the brink of defeat. God Tree. After reaching its matured form, the Ten Tails was already a global threat, but the danger didn't stop there. In a moment that turned the entire tide of the war, Obito Uchiha stepped forward and did what no one had ever done. He became the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails. Under Obito's control, the Ten Tails underwent one of its most shocking evolutions. It reverted, but not into weakness. It returned to its original purpose, the God Tree. The same form that once consumed the Earth's chakra in ancient times now stood tall again in the middle of the battlefield. Its appearance was terrifying. The tree blazed with a deep crimson glow. Its massive roots stretched across the landscape like a spiderweb of doom. At its top, a huge otherworldly flower began to bloom, and at its center was the Rin Sharingan, staring down at the world like an eye of judgment. Obito wasn't simply attacking anymore. He was enacting a plan for total control, the infinite Tsukuyomi. To activate the Genjutsu, the flower atop the God Tree needed time to bloom. While it developed, the tree's roots reached out in all directions, attacking everything they touched. These roots became dragon-like wooden beasts, sweeping across the battlefield, tearing through ranks of shinobi, and draining their chakra directly into the tree. Anyone caught in the roots was absorbed, their life energy stolen, their bodies turned into white Zetsu soldiers, an army grown from despair. It was a nightmare for the world. Millions of people were connected to the God Tree, unknowingly fueling the very jutsu that would enslave their minds forever. Yet, in this moment of utter hopelessness, something unexpected happened. The resistance united. Naruto and Sasuke, backed by the resurrected Hokage, launched an all-out assault on Obito. Their goal wasn't just to defeat him. It was to rip the tailed beast out of his body and stop the God Tree from blooming. It was one of the most intense, fast-paced battles in the entire war. Tailed beast bombs, Rasen Shuriken, Susanoo strikes, and coordinated team tactics collided with the twisted power of the God Tree. Obito, even as the Jinchuriki, began to fracture under the pressure. Doubt crept in, his vision blurred, and the alliance found its chance. The God Tree was more than a symbol of overwhelming power. It was also a symbol of how far someone could fall, blinded by pain and warped ideals. But its return was also a signal that the cycle was repeating, and this time, someone had to break it. Rabbit form. Just when the Shinobi Alliance had stopped Obito and prevented the full bloom of the God Tree, Madara Uchiha took the reins. He absorbed the Ten Tails himself, awakening the Rinne Sharingan and becoming the next Jinchuriki. For a moment, it looked like the endgame was his, but Madara never realized he was just a pawn. From the shadows, Black Zetsu revealed its true purpose. Acting as the will of Kaguya Otsutsuki, it hijacked Madara's body, forced it to mutate, and finally refined the true origin of chakra, Kaguya herself. Yet, her return wasn't perfect. The combination of the Ten Tails' chakra, the sealed tailed beasts, and her own unstable essence triggered a bizarre transformation. For a short moment, Kaguya's body warped into a grotesque white rabbit-like creature. This form was massive, round, and unnerving. A bloated white beast with Rin Sharingan on its forehead, and multiple tailed beast heads protruding from its body. This wasn't a symbol of power. It was a warning sign. The rabbit form reflected the conflict inside her. Kaguya's desire to control all chakra clashing with the conscious will of the tailed beasts, still resisting from within. Her power remained godlike, but her body became unstable. Bloated with energy she couldn't balance, she still unleashed incredible destruction, but in this state, her weak points were exposed. During this brief but critical moment, Naruto used a Rasen Shuriken infused with the chakra of the tailed beasts to strike Kaguya. The attack resonated with the energy inside her. That was the tipping point. The instability grew worse, and the grotesque rabbit form collapsed. She reverted to her humanoid self, regaining control, but losing the chance to dominate the battlefield as an unstoppable force. This transformation gave Naruto and Sasuke a window, and they took it. Together, they unleashed the 6 paths. Chibaku Tensei, sealing Kaguya once and for all. Thanks for watching till the end. See ya.